Hey everybody, welcome back to Open Door Hypnosis TV. I am Shara Prophet, the Mind Magic Coach, and tonight we're going to have a little bit of fun talking about the movie Us. Now, I got a chance to see it on Saturday night with my girlfriends, and it's a really fun movie. So if you haven't seen it yet, you definitely want to check it out, and you probably don't want to watch this video because it's going to be a spoiler alert. Now, as a hypnotherapist and someone who studies the subconscious mind, of course, I'm sitting there like seeing all of these, symbols and, forming my own meanings and interpretations of what I'm seeing. There's a lot of symbology in this movie. And I know that I'm probably scratching the surface of it. There's so much more to it. I got to go back and watch it again. Next time I'm going to take like a pen and pad and take some real notes. But, it's Saturday with your girls. You just want to have fun and enjoy the movie. So I know that there's like a ton of videos circulating the internet right now of people breaking down this movie with their own interpretations. So I want to share mine. And I'm not sure if you guys remember when Get Out first came out. I did a kind of a breakdown of that movie. It was more of breaking the myths around hypnosis because everybody was freaked out about hypnosis after that movie came out, and I'm sitting there watching it like, that is not how it goes. It can be that way if you're trying to brainwash somebody and do mind control, but that's not how a hypnosis session is run, with her stirring the teacup and having him sink into the chair or whatever. So anyway, because that movie, the same producer, director, writer, or whatever did Get Out, I felt like it was my turn to give my own interpretation of Us. So let's just jump right into it because it's a lot to go over, and I am not even gonna really get too much into all of the character breakdowns. I'm just gonna go off of the obvious symbols that stood out to me. And I'll probably come back and do like a part 2 of this video because it's just a lot. It's a lot to break down. All right, so some of the main symbols that stuck out was rabbits, scissors, the number 1111, the number 5, the red and white, colors red and white, the West Coast, the ocean, water, mirrors, darkness, and I also put in there the white and the red phase as it relates to alchemy. So first of all, 1111 is a very powerful number. If you see 11s all the time, you look at the clock, it says 1111 or it says 111. Usually it's a signal for you to watch what you're thinking, to pay attention to your thoughts, to be conscious of your thoughts. It's also, my kitten just jumped up on the table. I hope she doesn't clear the table with my camera and everything attached to it. We're just going. Isis, I have to put her in the cage. Anyway, 1111 also represents new beginnings, okay? Because after you get to 0, you get to 1 and you start all over again, all right? So there's also a Bible verse that's highlighted in that film, and it's Jeremiah 11:11, where God talks about how He's not going to have any mercy when when people call upon His name. Okay. So basically, what I gathered from that is, the overarching theme of this movie is that we all have this dark side of ourselves that we do our very best at hiding and shielding and burying, okay? However, we need, in order for us to overcome the darker sides of ourselves and to become one and step into that oneness and that higher consciousness, that we must make friends with that part of ourselves. We can't totally forget about it and act like it doesn't exist. So when we look at that Bible verse, Jeremiah 11:11, and I'm going to pull up the exact quote in a minute for you. But first, I'm going to remove the kitten. You stay there for like 10 minutes, okay? All right. So I'm going to pull that up in just a minute, but I'm just giving you what I kind of caught right offhand. Is by the time we realize that by the time we realize that we need something higher than ourselves to basically save us, it's going to be too late, because the time will have passed and we're not going to be able to be saved. Okay, that's what I gathered from that Bible verse. Okay. The first scene in the movie is rabbits. It's just a wall of rabbits and a cage. Now, rabbits have a lot of different meanings. Immediately, what came to my mind is how clean the diet is of a rabbit. Rabbits are herbivores, okay? They eat plants. They don't eat meat, they only eat plants. And in the film, Lupita Nyong'o's tethered self talks about how the tethers, which were I guess you could say the darker versions of each person in the movie, the tethered, they were living off of the raw meat of rabbits, okay? And just eating raw rabbits, while we got a chance to eat delicious prepared foods, cooked foods, and kind of enjoy life. They had to only eat these rabbits raw, okay? Now, the rabbit, like I said, represents that clean eating, okay? Now, there's a lot of stuff circulating around the internet right now about how, they're pushing this vegan diet thing. They're pushing everybody to eat a more clean diet. And they're saying that there's some things in the air right now, things in the environment that are causing the animals to get really sick and causing, diseases to form on the animals because of the radiation, the 5G technology, and all of that. So you can look up all of that online. It's there. I think MSNBC.com. You can read about the zombie deer disease. So they're just really pushing this whole veganism thing, cleaner eating, and not eating the animals. So I felt like that was kind of a nod to that in one aspect of the rabbit symbology. The other aspect of this is that the rabbit is able to live both underground and on top of the ground, right? So to me, this represents the conscious mind. Okay, you know how you look at that. If you guys have ever seen that picture of an iceberg where the conscious mind sits about that much on top of the water, but the subconscious mind is really, really big and infinite underneath it, right? So to me, this represents how we're able to live, the rabbit is able to live in between those two worlds, all right? And this is also a signal, a message to us to become more like the rabbit. By eating the rabbit, they're becoming more like the rabbit. The rabbit is able to live above ground and also live and dig deep down below the surface. It's able to burrow tunnels in the earth, right? So when you eat something, that is almost the highest form of becoming it. You're consuming it. You're consuming the meat, the flesh, the blood, and you're becoming that, all right? And because I'm going to read some of the things that I pulled off the internet about rabbit symbolism. And this comes from the houserabbitsociety.com if you guys want to look that up. Okay, so the rabbit is symbolic of representing knowing yourself, facing your fears, going into the darkness. Because when you are in the darkness, that's when you're able to see the most. That's when you're able to see the light. All right. We know that lights, cameras is an illusion. Okay. This is why things look so glamorous on TV and behind the camera, because it's a bunch of lights that are positioned in a certain way to make things appear not as they really are. Okay, but when we are in the darkness and we're only left with our own senses, then we're able to see on a deeper level. Okay, so when we're able to delve deep into the subconscious mind, where in this movie there's a lot of walking downstairs, going down into an escalator, going down an escalator, almost like you're going into a subway tunnel. When I think about that, I think about how I count people, from 20 down to 0, because each step down takes you deeper into the subconscious mind. And so at the end of the movies, we see that the only way she's really able to battle this other version of herself, this other part of herself, is once she's gone all the way down the escalator, deep down into the ground, into the earth, where the rabbits are. Okay, how the rabbits are all hopping around down there when she gets down there finally, and that's when she's able to face this tethered version of herself, and finally able to win the battle, so to speak. Kind of, sort of. We'll get into that. All right. So the rabbit is also highly sensitive to different vibrations and energies. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to, ask, or any insights that you want to add on to this too, because, this is just what I've seen. This is my interpretation. And I haven't watched any other videos about other people interpreting it, because I didn't want it to, taint my interpretation. I wanted to put mine out there and then go back and watch. But if you guys have some ideas too, if you've seen the movie, please feel free to share it on here. Okay. So the rabbit is also very sensitive to vibrations and energies, okay? And they can feel and sense things that we can't, as most animals can, okay? Most animals are clairvoyant. They can sense things and see things that we cannot see, all right? And again, because they're in the darkness most of the time, because they're burrowed down in the ground, they're in the darkness, their other senses become heightened. So though they can't really see with these eyes, the other senses become heightened. Again, when I take people into hypnosis, the first thing I say is you're going to notice that your senses become heightened. You're going to be able to hear things more clearly, maybe more loud. Your body temperature might change. You might become more warm or cooler. Okay, you'll notice some physiological changes taking place, where you may have a tendency to want to swallow, lick your lips, you'll feel the eyelids blinking rapidly. So everything just becomes more heightened. All right. And this is what happens when you are going deep into the subconscious or the unconscious, into the darkness. Your eyes are closed, and so the rest of the senses become more dominant. They're saying that this is what the rabbit experiences on a regular basis. This is why it's so prominent in the film. And according to Carl Jungian psychology, symbology, the rabbit in the underworld, okay, underworld meaning subconscious mind underneath the ground, okay, represents using one's intuition. Knowing how to get around in the darkness and being comfortable traveling in unmarked territories, okay? So again, I'm going to be referring a lot to hypnosis and the subconscious mind because, Jordan Peele is very, very much so tapped into this modality. So that's why it's of great interest to me, because he's so tapped into it, and I love the way he uses it and puts it in his films. Even though in Get Out, it was a little embellished. However, let's go back to this, okay? So in hypnosis, we're treading on uncharted territories, right? We're tapping into the unknown. We're going to certain places where in the awakened state, we might be afraid to journey to, right? We might be afraid to face certain things about ourselves in that awakened state. But in the hypnotic state, you're relaxed, you're comfortable, you're in a safe environment, and it's okay for you to journey into those unknown territories, right? And it's also going to get your intuition strengthened. That intuitive sense gets very heightened. All right. We can see more clearly in the dark without the illusion of light. I just mentioned that. You're facing your fears in the subconscious mind. This is also representative of the rabbit. It could also mean having or developing trust in your inner light. Okay, your inner power, your inner wisdom, your higher consciousness. And the rabbit does not need an outside source to illuminate his way. His connection to the collective energy maintains his pathway. I love that. I love that. This is what I teach all the time to my clients, especially in my Be Magic program, shameless plug. I teach people how to strengthen the trust in their own inner power and tap into that own inner power and to rely on that and to know that, there's that voice, that inner voice is a guiding voice, and also I teach them how to discern between those two voices. And I've talked about that on here as well in one of my past videos. Okay, so let's move on. All right. The rabbit is also an earth symbol, reminding us to center ourselves more and get more grounded. Okay, grounded, earthing, putting your feet on the ground, spending time outside in nature. All right, because this is the way that you get back to yourself, to your source. Now, the rabbit has an alternative meaning, okay? We talked about the more positive type meanings. Let's talk about the polar meaning, all right? The opposite pole meaning. So it could also imply stodginess, a sort of stuck in the rut kind of energy that happens to all of us at times, right? So as it relates to the movie, it's implied that most of us are living in that stuck sleep place. Most of us are walking around sleep in a dream state, okay? We're not enlightened, we're not woke, we're not aware of certain things. So the rabbit can also represent that I'm so tethered. Okay, I'm so tethered to this earthly realm that I can't rise up, I can't ascend, I can't get any higher than where I am because I am just chained and shackled to this realm, okay, this earthly realm. And also that reminds me of Lupita Nyong'o's main character. She's running around like the second half of the film with a shackle on her wrist. Okay, because at one point in the movie, her tethered self tells her, tether yourself to the table. And she gives her a pair of shackles. They're not even handcuffs. These are like shackles, okay? And she shackles herself to the table, all right? And she ends up breaking free of the table, but she's still shackled Okay, so to me, that represents the mind, how our minds are still enslaved. That even though we may not be in physical shackles working in the fields anymore, we are still enslaved and bound and tethered mentally to this earthly realm. Okay, so that's also a very important symbol in there. Okay. Um, this is another important point. So, the earthly quality of the rabbit also suggests the Zen like ability to maintain focus even in the midst of chaos. All right. So, the Lupita's character, even though there was all of this craziness going on, you notice that she maintained a sense of calm, a sense of like focus. It's not that she was calm, like, I'm chilling. It was like, no matter what goes on, I have got to keep my senses about myself. Because if I lose it, I can't rely on my husband. Okay, because he was so macho that he wasn't thinking in his right mind. So the feminine energy had to step in, and she had to tap into her intuition. Okay, she had to tap into her intuition, and she had to bring forth that Zen like quality so that her thinking was clear and she was able to help save her family. All right. So, um, also, the Zen like quality represents compassion. So, if you notice, whenever the tethered children were dying, she had this sense of compassion for them. When the tethered daughter was caught in the tree and she was dying, Lupita, instead of her taking her out and putting her out of her misery, she stayed there and she was with her while this being, okay, was dying and going over to the other side. Same thing with the little boy when he was walking backwards into the fire, okay? And I didn't even get to that I didn't even touch the children yet, like as far as breaking all of that down. I haven't even broke all of that down yet. So I'm definitely gonna have to do a part two of this after I've watched the movie a second time. But even when the little boy was walking backwards into the fire, she still had compassion because she was trying to tell him, no, don't back up into there, because that was that motherly, feminine energy, that nurturing energy coming out saying, this is still a child, even though it's a tethered version of my human children, it's still a child, okay? So the rabbit plays a huge role in this movie, okay? Um, let's see. I'll skip over that. Okay. So here's the other part. The rabbit also represents the trickster archetype. Okay, so if we think about the trickster in mythology, the Brer Rabbit plays a trickster, right? There's also in Native American mythology, Manabozo is also another rabbit that plays a trickster type of a character. Bugs Bunny, right, was a trickster. So we think about all of these trickster type characters as it relates to the movie. At the end, we find out that her tethered switched places with her when she was like, what was she, like 7 or 8? And I'll get into that in a minute, what that means, okay? And in a minute, when we find out that she switched roles with her when she was in the fun house, okay? So that's also the trickster quality of the rabbit, okay? So all this time she's living her life like things are cool, and she learned how to play the role of a person of sound mind and body. She learned how to fit into her family. She learned how to play the role really, really good, right? Even though and she was quiet all of that time. Remember, she couldn't speak after that. She didn't speak after. She was quiet all that time because she was trying to figure out, how do I fit into this world? How do I learn how to act, talk, cry, whatever? I need to model what I'm seeing in order to belong, okay, in order to be a normal human being on this planet. All right. So, um, mm, mm, mm. The rabbit is also well organized, okay, and it can stay one step ahead of their enemies, and this is figuratively as well as literally. So, hence, the tethered beings were well organized, and there was a plan to attack the above ground humans. Okay, so they planned all of this stuff out. So, the rabbit is very, very organized as well as strategic, it plans things out, and this is also representative of how the tethered moved throughout the movie. Um, So the rabbits also move in a zigzag pattern, okay, and this is so that they can escape their predators. Um, and this is to show that they're more intelligent and they're quicker than those who are pursuing them, okay? So the tethered were very, very intelligent. They knew exactly where to go to get people. They came, they conquered, and held hands and stretched all around the world. Okay, we'll talk about that too. All right, they did everything and they got it done. All right. So, and also Lupita's character. Part of the reason why she was able to survive was because she was an original tethered being. Okay. So she knew how to get it done pretty much. You know, she already had that um, ability to be a step ahead. Remember in the movie, she says they think like us, so they know where we're going, they know what our next step is, right? Um, and she knew this, even if she didn't know it on a conscious level, she knew on a subconscious level, okay? She knew that there was something, she connected with these beings for some reason, all right? Okay, so now we're going to get into when her little girl character, when Lupita was a little girl, her character, when she meets up with that tethered, okay? So I think she's like 7 or 8 years old, I believe, in the movie when they were at the park. She's like 7 or 8 years old. Now, the reason why this is so significant is because if you guys remember, um, if you go back and watch one of my videos on the theory of mind, how the mind works, right? How hypnosis works with the mind. I talk about how from the ages of 0 to 8 years old, all right, we are forming our associations. This is when our programming begins the moment we are conceived, the moment we are in our parents' belly, our mother's belly, not our parents, but our mother's belly. We begin to receive the programming. Okay, so whatever mom is dealing with, whatever she's pulling from the environment, whatever stresses, situation she's going through, we absorb that in the belly. Okay, so from 0 to 8, we're forming all of these associations. And around 8 or 9, that's when around 9 years old is when we become more discerning and we make a decision about what to allow in and what to take in. And pretty much by the time we're 8, 9 years old, our personality is there. Okay, it's already formed. So when we see her at the end of the movie and we see that she's was swapped out, what that represents is the little girl kind of making a decision. Okay, she's made a decision that the world is effed up. Okay, she's seen her parents, the dynamic between her parents. We see her walking through the park, and then it's like flashing back and forward between the park and the hospital, or whatever that building represents, when she goes down into the tunnels, right? We see the people going from kind of being normal to being kind of crazy and out of their minds, which leads me to believe that perhaps most of these people were switched out. Okay. Um, but at that point, she's kind of already decided this is who I am. Okay. And so the darkness kind of took over her. All right. The darkness took over, and she was able to live amongst the normal people while kind of shrouding herself in normalcy, shrouding the darkness in normalcy, or what we consider to be normal in this world. Okay. So let me know what you guys think about that. That's what I kind of picked up when I realized that she was switched out. Um, okay, so hold on, I'm just catching up with my notes because I think I'm going to getting ahead of myself here. Um, okay, so yeah, the darker part had already taken over her innocence, so to speak. Uh, so the darker version of herself, the tethered, it had taken her and replaced her with itself. So she was walking around in life as her tethered, and her innocent self was locked away. And all this time that she was locked away inside of herself, okay, trying to find herself, right? Because we see on the fun house it says, find yourself, okay? She's trying to find herself, but she can't find herself until she takes a look at herself in the hall of mirrors. All right. In order for us to find out who we really are, we have got to look at ourselves, right? And remember, and I can't remember what video that is, but I talk about the moment that hypnosis begins is when we recognize our own patterns and we start looking at ourselves. So we go into a hypnotic state of being the moment we're like, okay, why am I like this? What's going on with me? Okay. And then we're able to start digging and burrowing down deeper, 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 just like the rabbit. Okay. Because she looked at herself, right? She went into the hall of mirrors, she looked in herself, and then the doors opened, and she was able to go down the stairs, down the escalator to prepare for the fight of her life, right? Okay. So, um, and also the fun house represents our craziness. Okay, the fun house represents insanity. All right, and it's insane for us to continue the same pattern over and over and over and over and over again, to be tethered to the same behavior over and over and over again, expecting different outcomes. So for me, the fun house is very symbolic when it says find yourself. It's like come and step into the crazy, step into the darkness, take a look at yourself in the mirror, go down deeper into the darkness and confront yourself, confront the demons, confront the dark shadow part of yourself, so that you can begin to break free of the chains, untether yourself, and start to make some shifts. Now, remember when I said in my previous video called do people really change? I said people don't really change, because let's think about this now. When we get to the end of the movie, right? And we find out that she's really the tethered. She's just learned how to contain her rage. She's learned how to contain her anger. And by this point in the movie, now she understands that she has both sides, and she's awakened to both parts of herself. And so she has a choice She makes a choice over and over and over again to say, I could go down this way, okay, and pull out the scissors and start stabbing people. I could go this route. However, I have patterned myself long enough to know that I have another choice, I have another option. All right. So, um, let's talk about the scissors really quickly. Okay, so the scissors represent, scissors can either mean cutting the thread of life, okay? So we use a pair of scissors when we're cutting the umbilical cord. We use scissors to separate things, to cut the cord, so to speak, okay? So we think of mother and child in this respect, cutting the thread of life, the umbilical cord, right? So we think about it in that way, okay? Then we can also think about when the scissors are spread apart and closed together, it's uniting two sides. So in the fragmentation of the mind, of the personalities, these split personalities, and that fragmentation, we're also able to bring them back together, to coagulate them, to unite them. Okay, so to me, the scissors represented not only the V, which is the Roman numeral 5, but it also represented our ability to take our fragmented parts and pull them back together. Okay, it also represents our ability to be separated from our nurturing sides, okay, to be separated from the mother, from the feminine aspect, from that part of us that says, the intuition, okay, it's our ability to cut ourselves from the mother, the intuitive energy, the intuitive being that we naturally have, okay? So there's a lot of meanings that those scissors represent, a whole lot, okay? And I'm gonna talk about the number 5 in a minute. But I wanted to touch on the scissors, okay? And so the tethered are walking around with the scissors, to me, as a way of saying it's time for us to separate, because I want to come out and be in the light. I want to walk in the light too. And the only way for me to do that is to get rid of you, to get rid of this other personality, this other side of myself. I have to cut it out. Okay, I have to separate it in order for me to come. It can't be two of us, it's got to be one. And I'm coming here to take over because you've hid me in the darkness for far too long. You didn't let me come out and play. You didn't recognize me. You didn't bring me into your world. You've only looked at this false illusion, light, life, okay? So that's what the tethered is walking around with the scissors, all right? But the scissors also represent, the fragmented parts being split, but also coming together, okay? And that is the message, is part of the message in the movie, is that most of us are walking around split, dissociated. We have, we're separated from ourselves, okay? We have what we call in the hypnotherapy world, low ego sensation, where we are disconnected, the mind and body are disconnected, okay? We're walking around numb, not able to really feel in a deeper sense, because we've separated the mind and the body. We've separated the soul and the body. Make sense? Okay? All right. Also, we see the colors red and white. Okay, so to me, I see the colors red and white a lot in movies. And it's funny, I'll segue for one hot second, okay? I saw a screening of a film called Woman at War. It's an Icelandic film. It is brilliant. If you get a chance, check it out. It's not It's not like a box office smash hit, but it is a brilliant independent film, and I highly recommend that you watch it. But in the film, there was a lot of colors that I associated with the alchemical process of transformation of, you know, the mental and and spiritual transformation. And when I brought this up to the director, he was like, wait a minute, I didn't even realize that. I need to go and do some research on that because I did not realize that there was a theme of color in the film. And I was like, yeah, there's red and white, there's yellow, there's blue, and in black. Those were the running themes, the colors in the movie. And those colors represent the different alchemical phases that we go through on a spiritual and mental level when we are transforming and transmuting from base level thinking into a higher consciousness, from lead to gold. Okay, so when we look at the red and the white represented here in the movie Us, we also see Lupita's character has on white. Okay, the tethered are wearing red. They all have on red. Okay, and the red is the last phase. Okay, it's the last phase of the alchemical process of transformation. So the white phase comes before that. And if you notice, Lupita at the end of the movie, her white is stained with red handprints. Okay, so it, to me, it represents this red phase of the red phase is kind of trying to grab hold of her, okay, saying, come on, it's time for us to raise up, it's time for us to ascend, it's time for us to become more enlightened and step into ourselves. Okay, it's time to bring the two together. It's time to bring the red and the white phase together, the two processes together. I'm not going to get too deep into that. If you want to know more about that, check out my magical books review. And there's a book in there called The Complete Idiot's Guide to Alchemy. Okay, that's just one book on alchemy out of thousands that have been written. And look up the red, or just go Google, you know, black, white, red phases of alchemy. Okay, and check that out. So the red phase is the masculine, the white phase is the feminine. Okay, and in order for us to become more balanced beings, we have to bring both of those energies together. So we have to, the red phase, the white phase fades into the red phase, and they kind of meld together. Because if you look at the symbology in alchemy for the red and the white phase, you'll see the white, which is represented by a queen, the white queen, and the red is represented by a king. They are both holding like a vessel, a chalice in the middle of them. Okay, so you know the chalice, or the cup or the vessel, represents where you hold the unborn baby, so to speak. Okay, so when you take the feminine and the masculine energy and you mix it up together, you get a little baby, you get new birth, new life coming forth. Okay, I know that's a little deep, but if you're able to really break these things down while you're watching this film, it's really going to help you have a deeper understanding of it, instead of, oh, they just want us to know about our shadow side. It's a little bit more than that. It's about where we are right now in the age that we're in. You know, we're in the age of Aquarius. You know, we're in it already. We have come out of the age of Pisces, which is all about religion, and you know, it's got to be done this way and this way only. We are now in the age of Aquarius, which is the information age, which leads me to the next symbol, which is number 5, right? So the number 5 Okay, so the number five represents, pentagram, which has 5 points, okay? And when we look at the Pythagorean theories or concepts, the number five represents the marriage between earth and heaven, or the subconscious and the higher conscious, okay? Also, the number five in the tarot is represented by the Hierophant, major arcana, which means connecting the physical world and the spiritual world. In astrology, five corresponds with Mercury, which is the planet of intelligence, communication, logic, and ideas. Okay. Here is the next thing I wrote. We're in the information age, the age of Aquarius, where everything is mental, where, ideas, intelligence, everything dealing with the mind, everything dealing with your thought forms. Remember, we talked about the collective consciousness as well in one of my previous videos that I did. We talked about collective consciousness. And if you think about it like this 5G technology, I was having a conversation with some of my girlfriends the other night, and they were like, hey, have you noticed that you could think about a purse, a certain purse or a pair of shoes, and all of a sudden you open your phone and there's an ad that pops up on it on Facebook or on Instagram or something? The information is moving so fast that we're able to, technology, the devices are able to pick up on the thought waves and the frequencies, okay, that we're thinking. And it's not, like, oh God, it's the end of the world. Yeah, it's the end of the world. It's the end of an age. The world is not going to come to an end. It's the end of an age. Okay, so we're moving out of one age of Pisces, into the age of Aquarius. And this is what the end of the world means. This is the new world order. Okay, so that's what that means. So don't get freaked out about that. And the 5G technology, it taps into connecting us even more at a faster level, at a faster speed. This represents also, this five represents when the tethered are holding hands, okay, linked all over the world. At the end, there was a line of tethered all across the world holding hands, right? A bunch of sleep individuals, or individuals who have not quite risen to the top yet, okay? Finding their way, trying to wake up. But we're all connected because of this device right here. This right here. We're connected through the internet. The internet of everything. That's a real thing. The internet of everything. Look it up. IOE, Internet of Everything, which means, smart homes, smart cars, and even smart bodies. Okay, so when we start getting microchipped, which is already happening, we're already getting microchipped. We're able to, devices are able to recognize our thumbprints, and also our irises. We're being able to be identified with the iris. Robotic limbs, things like this. All of this stuff is a part of the information age. It's a part of the age of Aquarius. Okay? So that's what the number five represents, the communication, planet Mercury. This is where we are. Okay? Now, the thing about all of this technology is that it can either help us or it can hinder us. We have to learn how to balance it out. And I think that the overarching message in this movie is to be aware, just be aware of what's happening around you. Be aware of the world that you're living in. It also touches very heavily on the feminine energy, the divine feminine energy that is kind of, she's stretching her arms, she's moving around, and there's a lot of things that are shifting. The pendulum is shifting. It was way over here before, with the masculine, with patriarchy and all of that. And now the pendulum is swinging to the other side. with the divine feminine, matriarchy, okay? This one is swinging over here now. And you can see evidence of this in the film where Lupita Nyong'o tells her husband, like, I got this. I need to do this. You need to sit down and relax. You've been doing it for long enough. Look where you got us. Not very far. Right? So she's telling him, have several seats. We also see the divine feminine being represented by, let's see, okay, we almost at an hour. I'm going to cut this off in a minute. We also see the divine feminine being represented by them being on the West Coast. Okay, West Side, right? They're on the West Coast. They're in Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz is actually is an absolutely beautiful place. It's actually one of my dream places because I want to live on a house on the beach, and I'm like, well, Santa Cruz is perfect because it's got the trees and the garden and everything that I want. And now I'm like, I don't know about Santa Cruz after watching this movie. That's what I told my girlfriend in the movie. I was like, girl, I don't know about Santa Cruz no more. But whatever, I'm not gonna let a movie deter me. But apparently it was happening all over the world anyway, so it doesn't matter, right? Okay, so the movie is focused on the West Coast, a coastal town, all right? Water is feminine. The ocean is feminine. Yemiya, right? Yemiya, she's the goddess of the ocean, goddess of the water, right? Also, Archangel Gabriel represents the West, okay, and is the angel of water, all right? And Archangel Gabriel also represents knowledge and communication and writing, okay? So when we have the number 5 there, and we're talking about the feminine energy of water and the Archangel Gabriel, we're looking at all of these things that talk about communication, that talk about technology, that talk about bringing people together and connecting people. We're all connected by water, okay? So there might be land masses that can't touch each other, okay? So, you know, the North American continent and the continent of Africa does not touch each other. However, we are connected by water. Okay, water connects all of us. The divine feminine connects all of us because it's how we got here. We came through the mother, right? We came through the mother. And so in order for us to be saved, we have to return to the mother. We have to utilize the divine feminine energy. And it is not an accident that the main character in this movie, the woman who was leading the way, holding the torch, who created the plan, was a very super melanated woman, okay? A super melanated woman. All right, so you've ever heard that saying that God is a black woman, right? Now, I don't care what your belief system is, I don't care what race you are. When we say that God is a black woman, we're talking about the dark energy, the darkness, the universal darkness, okay? And the feminine energy is what life is birthed through and as. That's what we mean by the black woman, okay? It's that dark energy through which all creation comes, even light. And how are things birthed into life? Through the womb, through the woman, through the feminine energy, okay? So that is my interpretation, part 1 of the movie Us, okay? That is my psychological interpretation of it. That's the psychology of it to me, is how I see it. That's kind of what stood out to me. There's so much more to this film. If you watch it and you come up with your own interpretations, please make a video about it and tag me in it or whatever. Let me know, and I want to see it because I want to know, because I haven't watched anybody's breakdown yet, because I didn't, like I said, I didn't want my breakdown to be tainted. I wanted to kind of sit with this for a minute, make my own notes, do my own little research, and pull it together, and I did. And so if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you felt like this was a pretty, I'm not even gonna say accurate interpretation of the movie because it's my interpretation and everything is, left up to your own idea of this movie. This is the beauty of art, that we can all find our own meanings in it. But if you feel like this was an interesting interpretation, please share the video, like, comment, and subscribe. I am growing this channel. I have so much more to share with everybody, and I really just want to get information out. So go ahead and help me grow it. Yay! And also, if you're interested in learning more about the Be Magic program, the coaching program that is starting up in May, okay, May 14th is the next class date. There's going to be 3 classes. The classes will be held Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you're on the East Coast, you can make it work. Trust me, you can. I had East Coasters in my last class and they made it happen. It's once a week for 8 weeks. You can do this, and trust me, you will be so happy that you did. If you have any questions, about the program, if you want to schedule a one-on-one phone consultation with me for free for 20 minutes, go ahead and hit my website link and schedule your free phone consultation with me, and I'll answer any questions that you have. We'll talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. If you just want to do a one-on-one coaching session with me, or if you want to sign up for the program, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. I thank you so much for your time and your energy. Thank you for joining me this evening. I love you guys. I will be back on Wednesday night to talk about, I have not forgotten, I told you guys, I promised you guys that we were going to talk about the emotional and physical suggestibility and sexuality. And I'll tell you what all of that means. These are hypnotherapeutic terminologies that most people don't even know what it is. But I think if you had a greater understanding of it, it would make your life a lot easier. So again, I love you guys, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, leave comments below, and I will see you guys on Wednesday. I love you, and remember that you and only you are the key to a new you. Peace.